Well, it's that time of year again. We are on our way to Central Oregon for the annual Zukiworld Fall Classic trip. And right now we're on Highway 22, just a few miles east of Detroit, and we're headed up into the Cascade Mountains. It looks like there's going to be a little bit of snow up there. I can see it dusting on the higher peaks up here, so we'll probably get into a little bit of snow as we head over the Cascade Mountains. But this year the weather looks really good. Looks like we're going to have some nice cool and dry weather for the camping over in Central Oregon. Now, just like last year, I'm driving the same vehicle. I got my 96 Suzuki Sidekick Sport, but I've made a few changes since last year's trip. This year I'm running a Suzuki Aereo 2.3 liter engine under the hood, and I've just put a remanufactured transmission, an XD clutch, and then I put twin sticks on my transfer case. So I've got essentially an all-new drivetrain in this in the vehicle since last year, and I'm really enjoying the power increase with that 2.3 liter. Basically I can put this thing in 5th gear and set the cruise control and not have to worry about downshifting, even for a lot of the steeper hills. So there'll definitely be a welcome change out in the sand dunes this year. Now this year I'm not flying solo. I've got my co-pilot sitting right here. I brought my son with me. He's going to be braving the sub-zero freezing temperatures and tent camping in the snow with me. So hit me up with some road food there, co-pilot. Jesus. Awesome. Well, let's drop the hammer and get this show to Camp Morningwood. Let's fill it up with fuel again. See?
How to season your Coleman stove.
You got a secondary burn.
You get 1 million hits off that.
1 million hits?
1 million hits.
I don't know. I could maybe send the video to Coleman and get $1 million.
$1 million.
If you don't publish it?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Do you guys want me to upload this or not? Day 1 was a wrap. We gathered some firewood and set up camp and turned in early. The next morning we gathered around the fire and talked about our plan for the day. We decided to head to the Fort Rock gas station to top off our gas tanks, and then head east to look for an abandoned BLM airstrip that I had heard about. I wanted to put my eyes on it to determine if it was safe to land my airplane there. I'm definitely planning on doing that at a future date. Once we were done looking at the airstrip, we headed southwest to the Fort Rock wildlife area to explore an area that none of us had been before. We found ourselves on a narrow, snow-covered road, making our way through a whole bunch of downed trees. Once we made it back to the main road, we headed north to look for a geocache at a small peak, and then southeast to stop by a corral and active spring. The day was mostly over, so we headed back to camp on a high-speed 2-track section. We dropped back by Fort Rock to top off our gas tanks again, and then headed back to camp. Well, we made it through the first night at camp, and we're on the road. We're headed down toward Fort Rock, and we're going to go check out an old abandoned BLM airstrip. Actually interested in landing my airplane there at some point in the future, so we're going to go put some eyes on it and make sure there's no big chasms or boulders in the runway. Hopefully we find ourselves a little bit smoother road here. No, it looks like we got about another 1,000 feet to go. Yeah, I can see a route through there on 2-track, and some of that 2-track looks really straight, so I'm assuming they're pretty major roads. Saturday morning we got an early start and headed to the Fort Rock State Park. From there we headed east and stopped by a fire watchtower which was extremely well built. It was something you would expect to see in a prison yard. From there we went south to Crack in the Ground, where everyone enjoyed a brief pause from driving and a hike through the geologic feature. From there we went to the Christmas Valley Sand Dunes and enjoyed some driving in the dunes. The kids enjoyed sledding down some of the steeper dune faces. From there we went to a facility that we thought was an abandoned radar station but turned out to be a solar farm, and then on to Christmas Valley where we topped off our fuel tanks. Some people stopped back by Fort Rock for a dinner at the diner, and the rest of us went back to camp to get a campfire started. While you're in a corner, that's what will cause you to slide to the outside and go off in the ditch. So usually you want to slow all the way down, and then when you're into the corner you actually want to ease on the gas a little bit, and that puts some weight back on the rear tires and helps.
That would scare me.
We got some air off the front of that. final day, we packed up camp and headed up the east side of Newberry Crater. We gained around 2,000 feet in elevation, which yielded a couple of inches of snow to drive in. From there, we went to the Arnold Ice Caves. A few of us have been there in the past, but have never actually been able to go down into the caves because of the ice. This year it was thawed, and we were able to spend several hours hiking to the end of the lava tubes. Once that was done, the group broke up, and we all headed toward home.
Alright, is it clear for you to come up there? Alright. Well, we just finished up a pretty epic hike down in the Arnold Ice Cave. Pretty awesome. A little bit of rock climbing and scrambling, squeezing through tight spaces and big open caverns. About an hour and a half, maybe 2 hour long climb down to the very bottom. And that pretty much wraps up our trip. We're on China Hat Road. We're headed back toward Bend, and then we'll start our 5-hour drive home from there. And probably get home at about 8 o'clock tonight. It's a great trip. Another fall classic in the books.